to Freshly Forever, a podcast that gives you fascinating insights week after week. Here's your host, Vi Kumar.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode on podcast Freshly Forever. Today I'm here with Anastasia Eden. She is big into veganism and she's a vegan retreat chef and also runs online vegan courses. She's a book author and she has done everything right about vegan and veganism. So it's my pleasure to welcome Anastasia to the show.
Thank you. Hi, Vi.
So, Anastasia, how did your introduction to vegan eating and lifestyle begin?
Okay, well, I actually went vegan about 27 years ago, and I didn't really know anything about being vegan at the time. I didn't know any other vegans, and So when I started, I was just kind of winging it. What happened was I'd always felt compassion towards animals. I read about animals. I was always drawn to animals, but I hadn't quite joined all the dots up. And I felt this deep compassion for love, for sentient beings, and all of this. But when I was 20 years old, I was living in Germany at the time, just doing my thing over there. And I'd pretty much had enough of the world. I didn't kind of get it. I didn't get where I fit into the world. I didn't understand why everyone couldn't just love each other. And I didn't understand why there was, there's quite a lot of mistreatment of the planet, of Mother Earth and animals and things like that. So I didn't really I felt a lot of pain and suffering going on. So when I was 20 years old, I kind of had enough of all that, and I actually went vegan because I had a really profound spiritual awakening. So basically, I'd had enough of the world because I was 20, and how it would trying to figure out your place in the world, and I had this really big spiritual experience, and I wasn't following any spiritual practice. I wasn't trying to have any experience, but I just kind of had enough of what was going on in the world, and I basically collapsed on my bed, and I had this ultimate, which, sounds quite serious, but what happened in that moment was I had this ultimate moment of surrender, and it's like that, that all the boundaries, the world seemed to fall away, and I felt this incredible experience of interconnectivity, of unity consciousness, and I felt like so much love and compassion. I was flooded with light, and I'm not sure how long this experience went on for, but it changed absolutely everything for me, because it meant that I just joined all the dots together. And in that moment of surrender and letting go, I realized that I couldn't knowingly cause harm to any other sentient life, not consciously. And then I literally went vegan. With that experience. So it wasn't like I knew a whole bunch of people. It wasn't like I'd been influenced. I just felt such a depth of compassion. So I didn't really have a frame of reference for it. And I kind of made the connection with dairy. I was already vegetarian, because it's kind of, it's easy to make that connection. We don't want to cause harm to animals. So it's easy to kind of get the vegetarian connection, but then I kind of realized, wow, there's all these other layers to it. So so I literally went vegan after this really profound spiritual experience where I was just flooded with so much love and compassion. And I went vegan overnight, and that was about 27 years ago, and I never looked back since then.
Oh, okay. So that's what prompted you to consider veganism, and you completely turned vegan. how do you think being vegan has transformed you as a person?
Well, I feel like, it's a really good question. I was always kind of seeking this sense of purpose, from quite a young age. And it kind of, going vegan, it's meant that I feel so connected. I feel so connected with sentient life. I feel like my heart is wide open. I feel compassion. I feel love. And I feel like it really inspires me just to keep being the best version of myself that I can be. And, inspires me to serve my purpose, which is really just to be me, to be the best version of me that I can be. And that just so happens to be that, I'm good at making food and, I can help inspire the world in that way as well. So, yeah.
Okay. And that's like a fascinating story. So as I hear it, it was all just you feeling the need to do it, like somewhat of an awakening, if you will. And there was zero external influence, you said.
Yeah, literally. I mean, it was 27 years ago. It was quite different in terms of the vegan movement. That I didn't know anyone else who was vegan. I met people after that, but so it was just it was a deep spiritual experience. There's many other reasons that I'm vegan to this day, but the original kind of impulse, the original inspiration was just it's like, it's just like on my path. It was like it was meant to be. And when I think that sorry.
This happened in Germany, you said?
Yeah, I was, I'm busy on my path trying to figure out what on earth I was meant to do with my life. So when I was 20, I was a nanny living with a Canadian family in Germany, and it was quite an odd place to go vegan actually, because it wasn't very vegan friendly where I live.
Maybe the bratwurst culture and all of that, right? That's probably what the Germans eat a lot. Is that one of the famous?
Absolutely, yeah. Big bits of meat. They love their meat and stuff like that. Well, not everyone, because actually I think now Germany has a huge vegan movement. But 27 years ago it was a kind of different place. So I just felt like, well, it wasn't even a question for me back then. And I think that would intimidate a lot of people if they didn't have a frame of reference for it, if they didn't have a support network, if they couldn't go to the shop and find, a whole load of different choices, or they couldn't eat out. Because these days you can go into the shop and there's so much available, and there was hardly anything at all available there. And if you went to eat out at a restaurant or a cafe, it was very, very difficult. Certainly in Europe it was. It might in other countries,
Oh, I can relate to that, because even here in the States, I moved from India 23 years ago, and I was very young, and I was in my first job there, and then I moved from home on to another city within the same state, and then I was there in that job from where I happened to come here to the States. And when we first came, having been vegetarian all my life, it just wasn't the easiest option to find anything that you wanted, if and when you had to eat out. So I can completely relate to that. But now, like you said, all the stores, all the shops, even here, the grocery stores, everything, online shopping, everything has so much of vegan influence. And right from, vegan leather bags, like you can see everything vegan. And so there's just so much emphasis on it now than it was in the past. And that's just interesting. Were you always a retreat chef, Anastasia, or how did that journey begin?
No, I wasn't always a retreat chef. But what happened was, because there weren't any options available when I first went vegan, and if I went to a shop, I couldn't really find much to eat, or if I went to a restaurant, it was very difficult. So I decided that if I want to eat good food, I'm going to have to develop it myself. So I started just playing in my kitchen, and I don't know why, but I just started making this really, really good food. I almost felt like there were like little angels around me, because, stuff just seemed to magically happen. A lot of it was intuitive. I start to feel, how do these ingredients want to play with each other? And, and I just would make really, really good foods. And
So you started getting more creative.
Absolutely. So I kind of inadvertently became a recipe developer just at home, just by playing. And then, so I wasn't a retreat chef. I wasn't even trained formally in cooking. My mother was a really, really good cook. So she'd passed on that passion for making food. But what happened was, a few years down the line, I met a guy and we fell in love. And he'd started to run spiritual retreats, doing meditation and things like that. And we started running retreats together. They started off really small, started off getting a little bit bigger. We needed food. I was good at making food. So I just naturally started making food on the retreats. And then, we started doing more retreats. We started going abroad with retreats. So I started off small and just got this first-hand experience, and I just basically learned on the job. And it was kind of natural and sort of effortless to me for some reason. So it just felt like, oh, this is what I've been put on earth to do. So I just sort of did it. We've actually parted now. So I work privately, as I get hired by all sorts of people to do retreats in different places. So yeah, I've just evolved that over the years.
Okay. How far globally do you do all this? Like, how far is your reach? Do you do it in the periphery of Europe, or do you just go elsewhere as well?
I've worked in the US, on the West Coast. I worked in Florida. I've worked in Vancouver Islands, and I've got a particular thing about Sweden. I've got a particularly good connection there, and I've done various European countries. At the moment, I'm actually just working in the UK because travel's a little bit restricted at the moment, and actually so are retreats. So that's been a bit of a thing. But yes.
Okay. So what would you say are some of the key elements in putting together a retreat?
So as a retreat chef on retreat, because I actually run retreats, which is a different thing, and I work as a chef on other people's retreats. So if I think about making food on retreats, for me, it's really important that the guests who come from all sorts of different backgrounds, they're used to eating. Not everyone's used to eating super healthy food. It could be they could just be used to eating anything. I want people to have a really good experience. I want them to feel satisfied. I want it to taste good. I want it to look good. I want them, after 2 or 3 days on retreat, it's very, very common that people will come up to me and say, wow, I didn't know food could make you feel that good. I feel so light, and I feel vibrant, and I feel energized. I haven't felt like this in a long time. So for me, putting a retreat together is all about how I can help people to have a really good and positive experience with food. So yeah, I develop my menu based on what I know works after having, served people for many, many years.
And especially personally being vegan for 27 years.
Absolutely. So I'm a little, if I like stuff, then if I like it, it tends to kind of weave its way in there as well. But I do tend to, I notice what people like, and there's consistently people will go for the same sorts of things, and people want to feel nurtured, and they want to feel, they want to feel good when they eat. It's actually it's such a joy. It's such a pleasure to be able to serve people in that way.
Absolutely. You said it really nicely when you said nurtured. I can imagine. It's all like, you just, one, it's pleasing to the palate. Second, you just want to feel loved. You just want to feel like, you have, what shall I say? You have sort of brought your guests with you in terms of how you have connected with them, right? How you make them feel, and food, no wonder, is the biggest connection between human beings. If one can feel that, okay, hey, like they say, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Yes.
But I guess for any human being, I think that holds good. And you eat with your eyes first, and like it's so nourishing, it's so satisfying, when you try something different and you really like it, especially when it begins with skepticism, but then you go on to love it.
Yeah, it's like when people have been doing their workshops on retreat, whether it's yoga or whether it's something else, I want them to kind of open that door, and, for the aromas to kind of flood the room, and for there to be lots of vibrant colours, just so they start to taste the food before they've even got near the dining table.
Mm-hmm. But, and it's sort of, it's like a sense of belonging, if you will, and I think that's what you have succeeded in, achieving, or rather like succeeded in bringing together those elements, because we talked about the elements involved in putting together, like, a nice retreat and being a retreat chef. So help me understand here, having talked about how your guests feel and what feedback they give you, like on a very high level. We have touched upon that. How challenging is it, Anastasia, then to come up with a vegan retreat versus, say, an all-you-can-eat buffet? Because that's what people are so used to when they go to, say, any resort or when they get away, right? So, and I guess that's something that makes one look forward to when they want to get away.
Yes.
And so how challenging is it? And when you have to come up with a vegan retreat?
Well, to start with, let me say I do a vegan all-you-can-eat buffet. So that's actually what I do. So because everyone is drawn to something different, I like to have like this gorgeous medley of different options so that people can have as much or as little of what they want. And the problem is, usually it tastes too good. So I do actually have to make more, and people often say, wow, I don't normally eat this much, but it tastes so good that I have to come back for more. So I think the challenge, the challenges for me, because I feel like it's part of my purpose. I feel like it's so intuitive and natural for me that it's difficult for me to think in a general sense of what the challenges are. And because the way my mind works, I don't see things as a challenge. I see things as kind of an adventurous opportunity to just produce something. So when it comes to making vegan food, it's not a challenge. And the sort of challenges that I might face is if someone gives me a huge list of allergies Or if I work abroad, that comes with different challenges, because I have to turn up in a foreign country, use different currency. There might be different foods in season. There might be foods that I have in abundance that just happen to be super expensive in another country. So and going abroad, I have to ground myself and just get the lay of the land and feel that out. So that's where my challenges tend to be. But I kind of embrace it. I embrace it because I see it all as an adventure. So to me, I don't, I'm like, challenge, yeah, bring it on.
So I believe you also try to do things gluten-free, correct? So what made you feel the need to address the gluten-free eating?
Well, I actually decided to go gluten-free in 2015 because I was kind of experimenting myself. I was on a kind of low gluten diet, so I ate spelt. I didn't eat a lot of wheat or anything like that, but I kind of felt like quite a lot of brain fog. So I decided to go gluten-free myself. And after that, it just inspired me to do a whole new book worth of recipes that were gluten-free and vegan. I wanted them to be just as delicious, just as nutritious. And then so I started just weaving them into retreats as well. And then loads of people, I lost count of the number of people that said to me that they felt better when they eat they eat gluten-free. And, so I figured that, well, I might as well kind of incorporate mostly gluten-free into, because it makes people feel so good. It's I'm all about helping people. I want people to feel vibrant and healthy and happy. And so it just, there is a lot of scientific research to show different things about why it might be beneficial not to have gluten in your diet. But I know some people are fine with it, but a lot of people are really good without it. So yeah, it's just something I happen to have done for myself and found that it works. So that's all really.
Okay. And I love spelt. Anything that I bake with spelt, we pretty much avoid the white flour, and then, we just do spelt and it comes out amazing. And anything with spelt. And the other day I just tried to make even the Indian bread.
Okay.
With the puffed up, puris, what we call it. And, the ones that you deep fry, I made them with part whole wheat and part spelt, and it just tasted amazing. And it's just, so different when you can try so many different things, right? And what other options? I know spelt is not gluten-free, but it's low gluten.
Yeah.
What about?
I think it's easier to digest, actually. I think the main culprit when it comes to people feeling not so good on gluten is actually wheat that has been really hybridized. So I think there's a place in the middle where a lot of people feel really good with spelt and like alternative, like lower gluten grains. So I personally just love not eating gluten at all, but I think I'd probably be fine with spelt and things like that. But I'm kind of on a roll, so I.
So do you substitute with rice flour and cassava and things like that? What's your go-to when it comes to gluten-free?
Yeah, I do. If I do baking, I do tend to use rice flour and cassava, which tapioca, which I think it's the same kind of thing. And I use a lot of I grind seeds into a meal and use them to make like seed loaves, and I use oats as well, which are they're naturally gluten free. So I use them, and I do love my potatoes. So I feel very filled and very satisfied with what I eat.
So is that what helps you bind and bring together all these gluten-free elements? Because the gluten actually helps with all the binding. And so do you go use your potatoes as more like a binding agent?
Well, it's funny. What going gluten-free made me develop a whole bunch of recipes from the ground up. So I didn't really have a frame of reference for it. Rather than doing what everyone else was doing, I just decided to make everything up. And I tend to use, like, so if I make a seed loaf, I'll grind the seeds or the nuts down into a meal, and then I'll use something like sweet potato, which is cooked, or carrot, and that's soft and moist. So you find when you meld everything together, it actually holds together to perfection. And when it comes to baking, so if I'm using flour, like rice flour or chickpea flour, then I find that if it's just like, it depends what ingredients you have together. Usually there's a binding agent. Sometimes I might use flax as a binding agent or chia, but often I just find, like, if it's sweet bananas, act as a binding agent. So I think it's just about getting the balance right. I think it is. I make a lot of raw food desserts, so I just bind stuff with dried fruit that have been soaked. And there's all sorts of really fascinating ways that you can make things work that don't have eggs or don't have gluten. That. It's really fun and exciting and surprisingly easy, actually.
And very well said. You have pointed out so many options when it comes to gluten-free, and also with the binding agents and everything. And I think, trying all these things helps one be creative. Obviously, they can use your books, your blogs, your resources as as a go-to point for them to get started and be more creative. And as far as challenges with a gluten-free eating, say, you said your own personal experience in 2015 made you go gluten-free, and then that also helped you develop so much. But if we were to say, as challenges, do you see a lot of people with gluten sensitivities coming to the retreats and wanting gluten-free food? Is that also major reasons why you are having to customize and provide for them?
I do. So if I didn't naturally do mostly gluten-free food, I always get asked by retreat leaders to do gluten-free food for at least some of the guests. So within any group, there's always some people who are like either gluten intolerant or gluten sensitive. And that I've noticed over the years that has become more and more prevalent. And, and just the number of people that actually come up to me and say, oh, I eat gluten and I feel bloated. It makes me hazy in the head, and I always feel so much better when I don't eat it, but I don't know how to give it up, So I think it has become so much more prevalent over the years. And I think even if I wasn't a gluten-free specialist, I would definitely be being asked to have that. I think it kind of makes it easier because I've developed a whole bunch of recipes that everyone can eat, everyone can enjoy, that just happen to be naturally gluten-free anyway.
That's awesome. Actually, I face challenges when I have to go eat outside because I have inflammatory bowel disease, and there's only so much that I can handle, and there's only so much that I can eat, and I try to stay away from dairy. Gluten doesn't seem to bother me because I go for the hand ground, stone ground whole wheat flour that I buy from the Indian grocery markets. And so I think I have access to some good quality wheat that I don't really feel it. But then I tend to also mix it a lot with spelt, and I avoid the processed white flour and things like that.
Yeah, I think that does make a difference. Yeah.
And it's really interesting that you are able to resonate with people, address their needs, because I always wish every food place, even like a quick eating place, would understand what it means for any customer that walks in to see that, oh, none of these fit my needs. And I have felt so many times, and it's so hard for me. And then I would just tell them to, okay, take the cheese out, take this out, take that
Right.
out.
Yeah. And then you feel really like, oh.
And it's almost like I'm eating nothing then practically, and it doesn't fill me up. And the other misconception that I would like to address here is with vegan cooking, people think it's all raw and, like you don't need anything to, kind of fill you up. And vegetables just don't fill you up. You just need something like, say, a chickpea protein or something made with chickpea flour, say like a, you know, like a maca omelette, if you will, with the vegetables and all of that. And things like that, people can just get so creative and come up with so many things on the menu. And
exactly, it's a very common misconception that not everyone has, but sometimes when I've heard people say, "Oh, I've gone vegan," and I've asked, and I don't feel good, and I've gone, "What? Can you tell me what you're eating?" Mm-hmm. And sometimes there's a bit of a misconception. If someone's just going to eat lettuce, then you're not going to get enough calories. So I think the key to eating a good vegan diet is to get a really good balance. So you do need protein foods, like you need like your nuts, your seeds, your lentils and beans, chickpeas. You need different things from different elements, and you do need lots of fresh vegetables and fruits and things like that. But I think,
and then rice is inherently gluten free, and
absolutely, and quinoa.
If you can make rice and beans, like someone can really, have a satisfying meal, and just throw in some vegetables and some fruit, and it's like everything is in there, and then make like even one of the raw vegan desserts, or like whip up
absolutely.
something. I just saw on your Instagram yesterday the cacao, the coconut milk, and then the dates. That's just 3 ingredients. And how could you ever make it simpler than that, right? So
I know, it's amazing how easy it can be. I think I specialize in making things really easy, because in my early days of making food on retreat, I was juggling so many different balls that I just wanted it to be super healthy, filling, tasty, and easy. And I was also a mum, so I was a homeschooling mum as well. So I kind of like to simplify things. So that kind of that meant that I realized I just started developing recipes that were really, really simple. And it's one of the most common things people say to me when they follow the recipes on my blog, or they follow the recipes in my book, or on my cooking course, that, wow, is that it? That was a lot simpler than I thought. And just because it looks good, and sometimes things look like, wow, that must have took a lot of energy to make it. But if I can make a vegan ice cream taste divine with 3 ingredients, then I'm going to do that. In fact, I have a vegan ice cream with 2 ingredients: coconut milk and dates. Those ingredients dance together to perfection, and this is and it makes me so excited, actually, because it means people are going to try it. People are going to think it is so incredibly delicious, and then they're going to want to come back to it again and again.
Back in a moment with our guest on Freshly Forever. And right there, I think you have also addressed this aspect of how important it is for someone to be creative in their kitchen, right? Like you said, 2 ingredients. You made something with 3 ingredients and vegan ice cream, like cacao powder and dates and coconut milk, and just coconut milk and dates, and then throw in some vanilla extract, or some pureed strawberries, and right there you have like different flavors as well, right? And then maybe bananas and peanut butter and just,
absolutely.
yeah, like then it becomes like a match made in heaven. And I think it's just there's no limit to someone being creative and coming up with wonderful like recipes. And kudos to you for doing that. And what about the group sizes that you normally take care of in such events, and how do you tailor make your recipes to fit different group needs? I mean, we have already addressed the challenges you face, the gluten-free eating and so on and so forth. But if you just were to again, address it from the standpoint of your different group sizes and then how you tailor make it. And because guest satisfaction is something so important, right? And so how do you do it all and achieve that?
Okay, well, the group sizes, I might work with 8 people. The biggest groups I work with are 40 people. Typically somewhere in the middle, maybe 16 to 20 seems to be the typical such group. And I find that 9 times out of 10, a retreat leader just has total confidence in what I'm doing and just says, oh, you just take care of all that so we don't have to think about it. And I think the biggest things that I need to cater for within a group situation are if anyone has any allergies, like I was saying before, or if they, usually groups have a very similar format and they want breakfast, lunch and dinner. And usually that's just handed over to me because I know what works. Like if I have a menu and it's really hot, in the middle of summer, I'll have a lot more salads, a lot more, a lot lighter foods for people. And then in the winter, I'll just develop menus that are, more grounding and nurturing and filling in a sort of different sort of way. But I think I think what tends to happen is that because I'm so used to finding recipes that nearly everybody will like. So I tend to go with those, and it's quite unusual that I get special requests really, because I think the people who hire me just know that what I'm going to serve works. I do tend to have variety, so like if I do lunch, when I do lunch, I'll make a massive pot of nurturing soup. And then I'll do like different pâtés and dips. I'll do different salads. So there'll be lighter salads. There'll be like, say, a chickpea salad or a rice salad or a potato salad. And then a big beetroot and cauliflower sort of raw slaw type salad. So so I think I tend to take care of like all the different requirements or different preferences just by offering a lot of different variety really. And to be honest, there's not usually a lot left over. Sometimes I do make a lot of food, so there's stuff left on the table, but there's always a compost bin where people can scrape their scraps, and most of the time that's empty because people just polish their plates off, which is good. So it just constantly reminds me of the importance of making really good foods, because if people often say, oh, can you come home with me? Can I hire you as my own private chef? And it's like, and I think, people do like to be made food for, but it kind of helps if people go home and kind of replicate it themselves, and make it for themselves, which a lot of people actually do. A lot of people buy a book, one of my books, and they go home and they'll start cooking food. And then 2 years later, I might see them again on another retreat. And, it's not uncommon that someone will say, oh, I first started eating vegan when I came on your retreat, and I've been eating vegan ever since, and I've been making all these recipes. So it's really, really rewarding to kind of see what, that actually does make a difference. I think if people have a really good experience eating good food, then they're much more likely to go home and want to try it for themselves. And in these days as well, like I do have a website with lots of recipes on it, and there's the books, and now I started putting online courses out as well. So there's kind of no excuse these days, really. There's all sorts of resources so that we can learn how to make food for ourselves, and it's surprisingly easy as well.
I think you've emphasized that, over and over again, and I'm glad you did. Cooking from the heart. You're a big believer in this. Why don't you emphasize how you feel in this space?
Okay, well, when I first started cooking, like I was saying earlier, I was juggling lots of different balls, and I felt like it's really important that the energy I make the food with is calm and peaceful. Because I feel like when people eat food, they also pick up the energy of the food of the person who made it. I mean, I feel that when right. And I felt like, I want this food to be a gift. So I don't want to, I want to pass on really good energy with that food. So, I made a commitment to myself that whenever I make food, that I'm going to come from a place of presence, a place of peace and calm, and I'm going to come from the heart, so that when people eat that food, they can really taste and feel the energy of it. I didn't say that to people. I didn't say, hey, this food is full of good energy. I kind of just wanted it to be just calming and, have this clear energy. So for me, making food from the heart, it's like a moving meditation, like not in the traditional sense, but I think meditation is just about being present and aware. So it means that I dance from one ingredient to the other, and I'm very intuitive. So it's just the right amount will go in, and why I'm a recipe developer as well, because I just seems to kind of magically know how the ingredients wants to dance. So, coming from the heart, it feels like it's such an important part of the cooking process. We can bang a whole load of ingredients in a pot, but when we do it with love, it has a vibrancy and an energy to it that we kind of pass on to the people we share it with. So, and when I run workshops in person, and teach people how to make plant-based food, I'll get everyone to just close their eyes and connect with the food and connect with the ingredients and see how that inspires them to make their dishes. And I'll get people to arrange things in beautiful ways just to really connect with the whole process. So it's a big part of it for me personally.
Yeah, and bringing together the different colors right there, I think, is a first step in achieving, say, like a delicious plate of food, right? So it's just a matter of, like bringing the right ingredients together and enjoying it. And if you were to say any other aspect or aspects from organizing, other than organizing retreats, that has helped you in embracing veganism, what do you think you would say to that, and why do you think that's important?
Okay, well, after I'd been vegan for a few months, 6 months or something, I noticed that my health really started to change. I started to feel lighter. I started to feel more vibrant. So quite very, very early on in my vegan journey, I realized that it was really good for my health. And this was before anyone was talking about, plant-based is good for health. And a lot of people talk about that now, and there's loads of research on that now. But back then it was like nobody was talking about that. It was kind for the animals, and the planet, and that was pretty much it. So I was like, wow, this feels really, really good. So it became kind of contagious in that way as well. So I had like different reasons that, I was vegan, and I became really strongly into health after that. And I started meeting other people who went vegan for health reasons as their primary motivation. And I started reading about food and health, and I started joining all the dots in that way. And I think that is one area that I'm really, really passionate about how it can make us shine, how it can make us vibrant. And I've had optimal health my whole adult life. I never go to doctors. I think the only thing I've suffered from at times is like stress or anxiety, which kind of unbalances the system a little bit. But pretty much other than that, I've had very, very, very good levels of health. And I've also met people who I had a friend who had leukemia and healed it by eating a really healthy vegan diet. I know people who've healed chronic illness like arthritis. I've met so many different people over the years who have turned around their health from very serious conditions just by eating a really healthy diet. Now, I've not had that experience myself because I've been vegan for so long, so I've just been really healthy. But the amount of people that I've met, and that really inspires me. It really inspires me.
Absolutely, and that's wonderful to know. I'm just curious, Anastasia, what about the type of retreats that you run? Is it like yoga that you cater to, or what type of people, or what type of retreats are those? Is it like, say, athletes, or who is the target population here when it comes to the type of retreats, or is it like a good mix of everything?
Okay, for me personally, at the moment, I tend to be hired to cater on spiritual retreats. So it's usually yoga. Sometimes, like, it might be a spiritual writing retreat, or it might be someone who's doing trauma work, like deep kind of conscious kind of inner journey, inner healing kind of work. So that's just because they're the paths I've kind of stumbled upon on my journey. I am very interested in health, and I'm increasingly meeting more people who have like elite level health, who embrace a vegan diet. So I kind of suspect that I'm going to kind of edge into that territory a little bit more in the coming years as well. Just because I'm really passionate about that. So it seems to be kind of opening up a little bit more to me. But retreats have been kind of not happening over the last year. So,
we all can only hope and wish things would change for the better very soon. So what is it that you would say to people that are skeptical about being vegan, eating nutritious and staying healthy? Say someone says, oh, is veganism the only way to be healthy? Or, can say, for example, there's always this thought that, say, sports people, athletes need meat to, just that level of protein to survive and be able to perform, right? So based on your experience and the people that you have come across, what is your message on that front?
Well, I would say if someone's sporty and athletic, I would say watch Game Changers, the movie. Because I don't know how, I know a lot of people who've watched that movie and gone vegan. Too. Right. Yeah, a lot of people, I know people who watched it and then weren't eating enough, and it didn't quite work for them. But I know a whole bunch of people who've watch that movie and it's transformed them, and who have been like quite athletic and really fit already, and going vegan has taken them to a whole new level. So I think that movie really that speaks volumes. So if anyone's like into athletic or fit and is concerned about not getting enough protein, watch that movie. You've got the world's strongest man on that movie who is a vegan. And he looks like the Incredible Hulk times 10. He's vegan, so if he can do it, he's getting enough protein. I think everyone should watch that movie. I watched that movie and I'd been vegan for years and years and years, and it just got me really excited all over again on a whole new level, because it showed me how far we've come in the last couple of decades, and how much research is out there. The proof is in the pudding. These people who are like kind of elite level athletes who are not just getting by on a vegan diet, they are top of their field and thriving on a vegan diet. So I think that to be honest, that would be my advice. Just watch that movie and give it a try. I'm not into pushing anyone. I think everyone should do what they feel to do. And I feel like
I think that's not the goal of this podcast either. It's just that we are trying to clear some, what shall I say? It's not even misconception. Clear some doubts, if you will, for people that are thinking, oh, should I just take that route? But wondering, oh, how is it that I can be successful doing it? And I think a conversation like this helps put out the message as to what options are available, what people can go after, and how they can just benefit themselves if they, again, only choose to go that route.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's wonderful, because I think that if people eat a really healthy vegan diet and, and have a good experience with it, I think that's all people need to know, really. I know so many people. I kind of lost count. Like my whole adult life, I've been meeting people who've been thriving on a vegan diet. I also know people who eat a more junky vegan diet as well. So I would advocate make sure you eat healthy food. There's a lot of junky vegan food out there. So if someone's just going to eat, high sugar junky food, then they're probably not going to feel as good. But if you eat a more whole food, healthy vegan diet, then it kind of speaks for itself, really. I don't know many.
Absolutely.
I don't know anyone who's eaten a plant-based diet in a good way that's not really, really felt vibrant off it. I know people that eat it and then kind of maybe then they're eating quite a bit of junk, or they're not getting enough calories. If you just eat vegetables are awesome, and we need vegetables, but we also need to eat more dense things as well with calories, which, fat, healthy fats and protein foods, which come in abundance in the vegan diet.
Absolutely. And your spiritual connection, your connection to Mother Earth, how has it improved your well-being, staying in tune with nature, and your emphasis on compassion? Would you categorize that as the most differentiating aspect in you and why people come to you for?
I actually don't know. I don't know why people come to me. I think I send out a vibe, and people who resonate with that come to me. I certainly do have a very strong and natural emphasis on compassion, because it just ripples out of me. I just can't help that. So I think that I think some people come to me because if they come to me to hire me as a chef, it's one thing. But if they come to me to learn how to make vegan food, it's usually because they've tasted the food and it tastes good and it's easy to make. So they're kind of like, yeah, that's what we want. We want easy to make food. We want it to taste good and we want it to feel full. We want to feel full. I think, if people resonate with my energy, I think that kind of helps as well. And I encourage people just to play and explore. And I don't believe there's any such thing as a mistake. So, if people are a little bit afraid in the kitchen and make a mistake, so I just say, just embrace it, just have fun. We can turn that into something else if it kind of goes.
Absolutely. And what about your books and your online course? Why don't we have you talk about that? And you also have like a health benefits section on your website. You even say how one can get rid of jet lag and what to do and what not. Why don't we just tell listeners, give them an overall picture of everything, your books, your online course, and your website?
Okay, well, I've written 4 recipe books over the years, and I have 2 of them in print. One of them I've taken out of print now, and I'm going to republish it at some point down the line. But I have 2 in print, and I have a couple of ebooks as well. And they're jam-packed with delicious, easy, plant-based recipes that are mostly gluten-free as well, very allergy-friendly, vibrant, with an emphasis on how you could feel good. There is an energy of compassion woven in those books as well, because I've got some inspiring quotes, and vibrant photos. But my baby at the moment is that I've started developing a vegan cooking series of online courses, because I just want to take people through the process and really make it easy for everyone just to learn how to make vegan food in their own kitchen at home. So I've published my first course, which is vegan main meals. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to publish the salad course, and then I've got the divine dessert course coming. So within a few months, I'm going to have a whole complete series I've been working on for a while. It's a bit of a mammoth undertaking because I'm going into a lot of detail, step by step. Every recipe that I'm going to take people through has a video with it, and then I have printouts. I have little challenges, so to encourage creativity as well. So to see if people want to make their own version of these dishes, if people want to arrange things in a beautiful way and take photos, and just to get people to engage and connect. It's a community. There's a community with a forum, and I'm available, and I love connecting with people. I get really excited about foods, and I'm always happy to ask any questions. And I basically want people to, be inspired by vegan food. It's my thing. So that's my big focus at the moment, where a lot of my energy is going is into development of those online courses.
Fantastic. And what about seasonal eating and cooking and its importance?
I think when we tune into nature, nature speaks. Nature gives us what we need at certain times of year. It gives us a huge variety of different choices. I personally, because I've traveled quite a bit with my cooking, it's sometimes a little bit difficult. And my mum lives in Hawaii as well, so I sometimes get thrown off. I sometimes get thrown off with the whole seasonal thing, because what's seasonal in Wales, where I live in the UK, is very different to, mangoes in Hawaii. I'm a big fan of seasonal eating, growing your own where possible, foraging even. Mother Nature knows best. She knows what we need. So I do incorporate seasonal food wherever possible. It excites me, actually. It gives me more inspiration to make new things with
something different.
Yeah, especially in that fallow period in winter. I get quite excited about making something exciting out of something that's normally quite boring. So,
Sure. And as a traveler, you have traveled so much too. So how do you think overall the scenario is globally when it comes to clean eating? And do you think people realize food can be a healer and we are what we eat?
Well, when it comes to traveling internationally, there's been a huge shift over the years, especially over the last 5 to 10 years. So it's really easy to get decent vegan food. I kind of resort to fruit if necessary. That you can get fruit anywhere. You can get simple foods anywhere, but you can eat out. There's actually an app I have called Happy Cow. I had that app right many years ago, and you can actually find loads of little hidden gems of places to eat all over the world.
Is that your own app or is it something that you use?
No, Happy Cow is they I think they're the original developers of an app so that people could find places to eat all over the world. I think it's the biggest and best app. It was out there before anyone else, and I've been using that as long as I can remember. Actually, I used it before apps were a thing, when it just used to be a website, when you just had to go on the website. And yeah.
Do you think people realize that food can be a healer and we are what we eat? And how do you think overall the global scenario is when it comes to clean eating? Because there can be vegan junk eating, there can be junk eating in anything.
Well, I think I've met a whole bunch of different people in different places, and it really depends who you connect with. I know a lot of people who are really joining the dots and realize that what we eat is really important for health, really important for our spiritual connection. And I've seen that all around the world, to be honest. And then I've seen the complete opposite as well, where a lot of people still just, I think food can be addictive, especially junky food. So unfortunately, I think there's still, there's a kind of a bit of a, there's two things going on. And I think the more and more people that can radiate from eating healthy food, I think the more and more inspires people who aren't eating as healthy or joining the dots. I think that speaks, like, what above all else, I think if you can eat a really healthy plant-based diet and just radiate that out without saying a word, I found that people just get curious and they go, oh, there's something about you. What is it about you? And you don't even have to say a lot, because I found, like, people just ask questions. People want to know, especially if you don't tell them. I tend not to say anything. I just let people come to me and ask. And and I really put that down to the fact that I just walk my talk. I just make foods. I just, I'm naturally healthy. So people go, oh, there's something going on there. What is it? And I was like, oh, I think it's the plants.
Yeah. So right there, you become an ambassador of whatever messaging you want to put out. And as far as meditation, calming effects, and the mind-body connection, how have you felt about it?
I'm a big fan of everyday meditation. So when I wash my dishes, that becomes a bit of a meditation. When I make my food, that becomes a meditation for me. I'm less inclined to do formal meditation where I sit on a cushion. I think that's awesome, and I do sometimes do that as well, because I really love the centeredness and balance. But I guess I'm a busy person, so I just try and incorporate that into everyday
so
life.
So being
really.
mindful and staying in the present, that itself is the biggest path to success.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent conversation,
Yes.
Anastasia, and your future plans. And you talked about the near-term plans as far as the online courses. Anything you want to add as far as future plans and about your website and where people can find you and all of that?
Okay, well, I'm going to continue. I'm creating the online courses, so that's going to be my focus for the near future. I can't really see past that at the moment. I'm going to keep doing my retreats, and you can find me on my website, kindearth.net, and you can find me on social media. We can leave the links if anyone wants to connect with me, or if anyone wants to check out my course as well. I love engaging and interacting with that, so we can leave some links. But my website is kindearth.net, and I'd love to see some people over there.
Anastasia Eden, such a wonderful conversation, and we look forward to checking back with you. Wish you the very best in all that you do. And thanks for taking the time to chat with me and enlighten my listeners here on the podcast, Freshly Forever. And as always, I'd like to remind my listeners to follow the podcast, enjoy it week after week on Tuesdays. The Instagram for the podcast is at Freshly Forever, and the Twitter is at Freshly Forever1. Send me your feedback there. And as always, rate the podcast and follow it week after week for more and more interesting topics. And follow me personally at YP Kumar on Instagram. That's VAIP like Paul, KUMAR, for all things digital media and lifestyle topics. See you again with another interesting guest and another interesting topic next week. Until then, it's Vi saying so long, along with Anastasia here.
Thank you.